back, everyone. My name is Patrick. You're watching a combination of the Oilers Rundown and the Fanatic Rundown. You just finished watching the Edmonton Oilers come from behind to steal victory from the Boston Bruins, a 2-1 overtime win. Draisaitl the tying goal, and then Draisaitl the overtime winner. All set up, of course, by Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. His hustle, his back check, stopping a Bruins empty net goal. Moments later, the Oilers tie the game and then eventually win it in overtime. An absolutely massive victory for this team. 5 straight victories now. It was a great battle back and forth tonight, I felt, between the Edmonton Oilers and Boston Bruins. The Bruins goal was unfortunate, a bad giveaway, and leads to obviously an untimely goal, but Stuart Skinner and Linus Ullmark, a fantastic goaltenders battle tonight, and I felt for the most part both teams pretty evenly matched. It was funny to have such a low-scoring game after the 6-5 game that these two teams played last time out, but hey, the Oilers come out on the winning end and get 3 out of 4 points against the Boston Bruins this year, so I think we all have to be pretty damn happy with that. Now, with all that said, I'm going to move focus away from the hockey game tonight. An amazing hockey game, an amazing 2-1 win for the Oilers, but as we all know, it's trade deadline week. It's coming up on Friday, 1 p.m. Mountain, but I think the trades, the moves, the really big ones are going to start tomorrow, and the Edmonton Oilers should be involved in at least one tomorrow, I think. We might have to wait for Friday for any additional moves, but I think the trades will start for the Edmonton Oilers tomorrow, and I thought for tonight, I'm just going to do a quick recap of all the news from today. The news is going to be constantly changing here. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a few deals go down tonight, possibly even involving the Edmonton Oilers tonight. So let's do a quick recap here before this news is completely out of date. So to start off, New Jersey Devils GM Tom Fitzgerald saying this morning, "I'm not shopping Tyler Toffoli." Doesn't mean Toffoli doesn't get moved, but the Devils aren't actively shopping him. The Devils, we'll have to see how the rest of this week goes. It didn't look like it was going too good earlier, so I have a feeling Toffoli still ends up being moved. Whether it's to the Edmonton Oilers or not, we'll see, but the Devils may end up hanging on to him. They do like him. I think they'd like to re-sign him, but with how their season is going, just firing their coach, we'll have to see what happens here to close out the week. Elliot Friedman adding this earlier, I believe it was from the Spittin' Chicklets podcast. He says, "I believe they've done something similar to their Tanev offer with Philly, with one of their guys, Sean Walker or Nick Seeler, that they have said, 'We're interested, here's the first, but you're going to have to take a guy.'" So the Oilers tried to get Chris Tanev from the Calgary Flames for Cody Ceci in a first, and it looks like they're trying something similar here, according to Elliot Friedman, with the Philadelphia Flyers for Sean Walker or Nick Seeler. Will it work? I guess time will tell. And then came the news that I didn't want to see. My boy Sam Gagner is on waivers. We'll see if he clears tomorrow. The Edmonton Oilers had to put somebody on waivers to clear some cap space, give them some immediate moves they can make. I think Sam Gagner will clear. I think most of Edmonton knows that someone else, last name Brown, probably should have been the guy put on waivers. But regardless, it was Sam Gagner. He hasn't drawn into the lineup much, as we know, so I guess it kind of makes sense from that regard, and we'll see what happens, but I just hope Sam Gagner isn't leaving the Edmonton Oilers for a third time tomorrow and at least clears waivers, and if he has to go down to Bakersfield for the remainder of the season, so be it. The Oilers can call him back up for the playoffs, but we'll see what happens with Gagner as of noon tomorrow. Next up, from Darren Drager, sources say the Penguins are hoping to have a trade in place for Jake Guentzel by tomorrow evening. Pittsburgh is open to quality over quantity in return, but would like a first, a young NHL player, plus prospects. Flexibility comes in the caliber of prospect or roster player. And Chris Johnston added, "The expectation is that Guentzel will be dealt by the Pens as a rental. It doesn't sound like potential acquiring teams have shown much interest in trying to work out an extension as part of the trade. So that does potentially work in the Edmonton Oilers' favor, but we'll see how deeply involved they remain in the Jake Guentzel negotiations, probably as of tomorrow, as it sounds like Guentzel is leaving Pittsburgh by tomorrow night." Chris Johnston adds, "With the Canucks believed to be among those pursuing Jake Guentzel, word is they've had discussions about potentially flipping Elias Lindholm to the Bruins as part of a way to make the trade happen. Nothing concrete in place at this time, still lots of moving parts. Well, if the Canucks did move Lindholm, that'd be a pretty ruthless move considering they just acquired him not too long ago from the Calgary Flames, but the Canucks are definitely all in, and Lindholm has not been a great fit with the Canucks so far, so I could definitely see something like this happening. But of course, all Oilers fans would prefer to see Jake Guentzel not end up with the Vancouver Canucks or the Vegas Golden Knights, for that matter. And speaking of the Vegas Golden Knights, they completed a trade this evening with the Washington Capitals, acquiring Anthony Mantha for 50% retained. To Washington is a 2024 second-round pick and a 2026 fourth-round pick. So Mantha was connected to the Edmonton Oilers, now officially off the board. So who is the Oilers' number one guy as of now? On Insider Trading, Chris Johnston mentions at this point the priority for Edmonton is to try to acquire Adam Henrique. He adds that although Henrique has trade protection, he is warm to the idea of a trade to the Oilers if one can be consummated. Bob Stauffer interviewed Ken Holland before the hockey game tonight, and Ken Holland had the following to say: "I would say we're hoping to add 2, maybe 3 players. Ideally, I would like to add a veteran defenseman. It appears things are starting to move." He also said, "I don't expect to see Dylan Holloway and Philip Broberg being moved between now and Friday, but you never know until the phone rings." And Pierre LeBrun had these updates on 2 possible Edmonton Oilers targets. On Sean Walker, the Flyers still want a first-round pick. Can they get it? The Toronto Maple Leafs and the Oilers have kept tabs with Philly, including over the last few days. With regards to defenseman Alexander Carrier of the Nashville Predators, Pierre LeBrun notes that all options are still open. Signing him to an extension, talks continue, but it doesn't sound close. Trading him if a team makes it hard to say no, or keeping him as the Predators' own rental. And lastly, Bob Stauffer added these comments during the second intermission tonight. He believes the Oilers will add a depth D-man at the minimum, and they're probably going to add 1, if not 2 forwards, with an emphasis on the word add, which means not subtract, and Stauffer suggests they'll have a third team involved. Well, definitely a lot to take in there, guys. I thought that was kind of just the easiest way to go through all that information without making this video like half an hour long. And I didn't want to put too much more information out there with worry that it's just going to become inaccurate in 10, 15 minutes or so. So I'm going to try to get this video up to you guys as quick as I possibly can before the information changes. But let me know your thoughts on all this. It sounds like Adam Henrique is the primary target for the Edmonton Oilers right now. Will they pick him up tomorrow, Friday? We'll see what happens. Let me know your thoughts to this point in the comment section below. If this is your first visit to the channel and you like what you see, please consider liking and subscribing for all the latest Oilers content. You've been watching the Oilers Fanatic. Thanks for being a fan.